Well, greetings. This is going to be another audio-visual presentation of Chuck's Common Sense. Just sort of a culmination of a couple of weeks' worth of debating where, because COVID-19 numbers here have taken a kind of a nasty turn, debating on Facebook and debating in general has taken a nasty turn. Now, those of you who generally agree with me are probably going to be nodding your heads a lot through this. Those of you who despise me or who disagree vehemently are going to call me a drama queen. You will say I'm exaggerating. Probably some of you will have the clever canard of typing up freedom, D-U-M-B. Aren't you clever, you son of a bitch? I always wondered, if you mock the idea of individual freedom, how much must your life suck? If the very thought of someone being free repulses you, then you are probably a repulsive person. Anyway, I'm going to try to be nice. Honest to God, I'm going to try to be. We all know what's going on, COVID-19. The pandemic began here officially in March. In the early stages, we had very little idea with what we were dealing with, and again, we were governed as much by confusion as anything else. So, yeah, some of the instances where government put in lockdowns, a lot of us were a little too astonished to know really exactly what to do. I and other libertarians were naturally concerned about government overreach. But since then, again, the numbers went down. Now they, of course, in the past month have been moving steadily upward. The death toll has not been increasing at the same rate, fair to point out. But anyway, with this latest increase has come the predictable number of government restrictions that have been passed down, trying to keep a handle on this. And increasingly, we are seeing, or at least I am seeing, on Facebook, the emergence of a whole different level in some of these debates. Now, just for the purpose of brevity, I'm going to call these people members of the lockdown left. Yes, that's pejorative, but again, just to be brief, I will describe them as the lockdown left. I'll give you a bit of a definition here of what I consider to be that. Now, if you are understandably concerned about your parents or grandparents in a nursing home or your any relative, man, I'm with you. I understand. This thing seems to be especially deadly in nursing homes. And boy, we can really justify a lot of restrictions where nursing homes and other compromised populations are concerned. That doesn't make you a member of the lockdown left. You are a member of the lockdown left if you blindly accept any government restriction without question, and if you get pissed off at people who have questions. If you get actively angry at someone who simply asks why. If you get fucking pissed off at someone who simply says, hey, maybe that's a little too far, maybe we should tap the brakes, then you are a member of the lockdown left. Glad we have cleared that up. This is what we're dealing with. I've captured a few of the more interesting statements in some debates over the past couple of weeks. I've protected the anonymity of the people who made the statements, but here's the first. Lockdowns are for the purpose of slowing and containing this deadly virus. When people are eating without a mask, even outside, aerosols are released into the air. If you have COVID, those droplets can be transferred to the waitstaff's clothing, their masks, or anyone who happens to be walking by. It sucks, but this is what happened when people don't do their damn part. Many people won't need to worry about whether indoor or outdoor dining is available, as they'll be dead. Well, there you go. The choice, according to the lockdown left, is live or die. There is no in between. And, of course, in this submoronic statement, they are assuming that because this is airborne, then there's really no restriction. You could not justify that. Not so. My science is over 260K dead while y'all stomp on their bodies and wonder how you fed yourself before you had 12 restaurants on every block. This is the extent of the science. Because there have been 260,000 deaths, then that justifies anything. If you truly believe that science, which is not science, it's a statistic, justifies everything, then there's nothing to debate. You can pass any restriction and say, hey, 260,000 dead. Why are you questioning? I think if selfish conservative idiots had masked and social distance from the get-go, we would not be where we are now discussing how to stop people from spreading this thing. But no, we had to have deniers and anti-maskers and oppression screamers from day one. And now all your cries fall on my deaf ears. I have no sympathy because COVID deniers did this, not me. You may have forgotten. COVID deniers. You sound like you're in a damned cult. Deniers! Burn the witch! No one denies COVID. It exists. It's out there. It's terrible. If selfish conservative idiots had masked and social distance, no, there's no science that will tell you that. That is pure supposition. You think that's the case. Your COVID-denying side simply has no empathy for healthcare workers this past year, and I simply have none for restaurants anymore or people who can't eat at home anymore. See how that works? Restaurants are among the riskiest of investments. Deal with it. I love the cavalier attitude here. Well, you took a bad risk in restaurants, therefore I can justify any government restrictions to put you out of business. Why? Because your investment was going to be risky anyway. Double fuck you. You are letting government decide winners and losers based upon your fear. What is so difficult to understand? No masks equal COVID spread. Since this country is such a shithole thanks to Orange Man, we can't even begin to know where to start. So this is why we have to limit activities where people gather, but my guns and my rights. So it gets all back to Orange Man bad, which is the extent of a lot of people's arguments about a lot of stuff. It's not much of an argument. It's pretty stupid, actually. And I love this. No mask equals COVID spread. Period. End of equation. If you don't wear a mask, it's going to spread. We're all going to die. That's not science. That's religion. You don't want evidence, considering you've already been given it. You want what you want, and you don't care who has to die to make it happen. This really is about your own selfish desires and lack of empathy. I'm selfish. I'm selfish because when government passes down a restriction that I think may be going too far, I say, can we justify that? That makes me selfish. It makes me selfish to insist that government justify restriction of individual liberties. I'm the selfish bastard. I argue in favor of not seeing 300,000 more dead Americans from something that is largely preventable. Once there is a vaccine that's proven to work, my arguments will change. But until the vulnerable can protect themselves, we have a moral obligation to protect them, even if it's inconvenient. No one has regard for the lives of others, then, as far as I'm concerned, they deserve no rights. Well, I'm glad you died and became God. Now, there's so much wrong with this statement. Again, you are saying that just because a lot of people have died, you can do anything. Well, the government can do anything to justify it. That's not the case. LA County, a week and a half ago, outlawed outdoor dining. Again, it was obviously in reaction to COVID-19, the increase. I opined that it would not be unreasonable for people to demand that LA County officials tell us what they based this decision upon. Where is the science? They based that decision on something. Was it science? Was it a report that indicated that outdoor dining had recently led to this spike in LA County? Or was the reason because we have to look like we're doing something? That the people are so scared, because you've made them scared, that you have to look like you're doing something. This is the equivalent of passing the Patriot Act, which does nothing except make us less free. But it looks like we're doing something. It looks like we care. And it's amazing, based upon what I've said before, a lot of people are operating under the fallacy that I'm anti-mask, anti-social distancing. Because of that, they're calling me selfish, ignoring the people. That's not true, of course. That's a nice little straw man for you to disregard and dismiss everything I say. What I'm opposed to is the mandating of restrictions. In Dade County, Florida, there are people who are being arrested and fined up to $500 for not wearing a mask outdoors with no one around, walking back to their car in a parking lot. That's what I'm trying to fight. I am not trying to fight Lowe's mask restrictions or the social distancing requirements at Target. I am trying to fight government being able to exercise the power of punishment, arrest, fines, for you doing something that is not endangering anybody. I'm sorry. If you're standing in the middle of a park without a mask on, no one is in danger. Now, if a group of people come over, you can make the argument that they should be masked. But right now, you are arguing for the government to have the authority to sanction someone, fine or punish, for not wearing a mask when no one is around. That's too far. And all I am saying is, when government puts in a restriction like that, we should be allowed to ask, is that okay? Is this necessary? But there are people so damned afraid now, they will get pissed if you even ask the question. This is insanity. If you'd have told me a year ago that lots of people would be getting ticked off at others who are asking that the government not impose severe restrictions on individual liberty, it's just pissed that they're asking the question, I would have said, no way. That's not a free country. Here we are. Very frustrating to keep having to repeat myself in this respect. People interpret my opposition as my claiming that I have the right to walk through a nursing home while hucking oysters on patients. No, that's not the case. If you assume that, we're not going to have a productive discussion, and we have not had very many productive discussions on Facebook lately. Again, this is what I am saying. If government is going to impose a restriction on our individual liberties, they should have to justify it. I cannot believe this is controversial. I cannot believe that simply asking this question makes people have a goddamn epileptic attack. Just asking the question, just insisting this most rudimentary amount of justification from the government is making people angry. If you believe, as I do, that the government exists to serve us and not the other way around, then it's very easy to get depressed in a time like this. Yes, the COVID virus is plenty depressing enough, but more depressing is the mindset of people who have become sufficiently scared so as to be actively hostile at the idea of questioning government about anything. In a few years, this pandemic's going to be in the rearview mirror. But that line of thinking will still exist. If we have transitioned to a country where people, a lot of people, are going to be angry at the mere questioning of government restrictions, that's not a country I'm interested in living in. It sure as hell is not the country I grew up in. I don't know. People are going to call me overly dramatic, and I'm sure I am. But I've seen what happens. I have several dear friends that I've met through a local furniture factory from Poland. They are vibrant. They're full of life. All of them are about my age, maybe a little bit older. You know why? Because they've seen what it's like to live in a society where you are not allowed to ask questions of government. And they don't like it. They do like the fact that they are living now in a nation where you have a constitutional right to petition the government to present a redress of your grievances. Those people from Poland, and I know a couple of others from former Czech Republic, now the Czech Republic, former Czechoslovakia, they have a real zest for life because they've seen the other side. I guess I would just feel a little bit better if I was convinced from more people that it is okay to question government, that it is okay to insist that government justify actions, even in a pandemic, especially in a pandemic. If we can ignore it now, we can ignore it anytime. Just bumming. I'm just bumming. I'm sure there are people on the lockdown left, if you've made it this far looking at this, that are just laughing. Ha ha, look at that fat drama queen. Ain't he funny? Oh, no one's going to come get my guns and stuff. That's fine. Go ahead. I just want to make sure that in 5 years this is still a country worth living in. It would be nice to get some confirmation from people that there is still at least the spirit of freedom in America. There is still the possibility that people are going to ask, hey, is that a good idea? Let's talk about this, because I'm not seeing that vibe now. I need a beer. Y'all take care.